Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Miller, Ambassador Crocker, thank you very, very much for your service for our country. I want to talk about the very beginning of our decision to go into Afghanistan and what we might have learned or done differently. But I can't move on to that without acknowledging the fact that we have, in many respects, been showered with shame in the way we left. One, I think, a disastrous decision by the prior administration to surrender through the talks and agreement they entered into, and the continuation of that decision by the current administration, and then, of course, its fateful execution of the withdrawal. We've left behind thousands. We've broken promises to friends and allies. We've abandoned women and girls there. And, of course, we put America and our friends and our national interests at much greater risk, as has been pointed out by Senator Johnson and by others today. And by the way, I just note that when there's a poll that says that most Americans want to leave Afghanistan, I wish that political people would say, let's point out to the American people, do you really want to leave if there's going to be abandonment of our principles, abandonment of girls, and a degradation of our national security? That, I think, might lead to a different poll answer, but that's obviously a different point. I want to turn to the question of what we could have done at the beginning. Given the fact that we were attacked on 9/11, that the Taliban was responsible for al-Qaeda having a base of operations in their country, looking back, what should we have done instead? What could we have done instead? I remember I was in Afghanistan, actually, as Ambassador Crocker was there, and my wife said, are you getting used to the, 10.5-hour time change difference? And I said, no, it's the 1,000 years time change difference that I'm finding hard to get used to. It struck me that our mission went from a one of securing America from potential future attack to trying to build a democratic-styled country, and that was just a bridge far too far. So, Ms. Miller, perhaps you could begin with just what might we have done differently? Was it the expansion of mission that was the greatest error? And likewise, Ambassador Crocker would very much value your opinion on that topic.
So, in the alternative history, I think what you could imagine is that instead of deciding, as the Bush administration did, that it had to make an example of the Taliban to other would-be harborers of terrorist groups around the world, that instead it made the decision to violate Afghan sovereignty, chase the al-Qaeda perpetrators, and punish the al-Qaeda perpetrators, and essentially ignore the Taliban, or perhaps inflict some punishment on them, but not to the point of overthrowing them. This was an approach that the Bush administration derided as the old law enforcement approach to counterterrorism that had been practiced during prior administrations: go after the perpetrators. And it was a very explicit decision, and not without some, at least small degree of controversy within the Bush administration to take that approach. I say small degree because there was, I think, in the State Department, some awareness that, as in the words of Colin Powell, you break it, you own it. And so if you're going to engage in regime change, you had better have the strategic patience that Ambassador Crocker talked about if you're going to see it through, because the expansion of the mission all flowed from that initial decision to engage in regime change. Would it have worked just as well to go after the perpetrators without overthrowing the Taliban? I mean, it's hard to engage in these hypotheticals, but I think what we've seen is that elsewhere around the world since that time, that is the approach that has been taken.
Thank you. Ambassador?
Senator, I don't think there was an alternative. We gave the Taliban an out. We told them, hand over al-Qaeda leadership to us and we will leave you alone. They refused to do that. And I think that refusal left us with no choice except to execute the mission as we did. It would be pretty hard to justify at home or abroad that the Taliban, having refused to give up the the murderers of 9/11, that we could somehow go after Al Qaeda and leave them alone. And when we were done doing that, just say thanks for your hospitality and go home ourselves. I don't think that was a viable approach either in national security terms or in political terms.
Help me understand. Did we make an error in going from taking out the Taliban and removing Al Qaeda to a decision to, if you will, create a democratic nation of sorts? Was there a change in mission that suggested a doomed mission from the outset?
I don't think so, Senator. Let's recall that in the wake of 9/11 and the absolutely universal support for the United States at that difficult time led to the Bonn Conference in Germany in early December 2001, where the international community came together under UN auspices to set the stage for a new Afghanistan. The Afghan Interim Authority was formed there with later President Karzai as its chairman. I don't think it would have been possible or conceivable for us to say, we don't want to do that. We're just going to go after the bad guys. Forget all the rest of this stuff. To me, that exists in some realm of science fiction, frankly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.